ओम परतत्वे सदा लीनो रामकृष्णसमाज्ञया यो धर्मस्थापनरतो वीरेशं तं नमाम्यहम्. We have been trying to study here Swami Vivekananda's practical Vedanta, which is a part of Swamiji's Jnana Yoga, which has to be studied before studying Jnana Yoga to get a grip over mind that Vedanta has to be practiced, experienced, and it is not only an intellectual happiness. So, we have seen up till now that first Swamiji has shown that it is practical. In the sense, it was realized by people who were ruling monarchs or Arjuna-like fighters who had to command such a big army. So, it has been practiced first. And Swamiji says it has been practiced first and theorized afterwards, which means that it has been experienced or realized, due to which it came to life. And then this buddhi, intellect, rational intellect thinks what has been done and it philosophizes. So philosophizing and experiencing are independent. Experiencing makes it practical and philosophizing is only for explaining to other people. So this is not a theoretical explanation, it is an explanation of already experienced facts. Then second thing Swamiji says is, it is practical in the sense of an ideal. An ideal is always above the real or practical. That means it is not practical in the sense we shall do as we are doing in our life. No. We have to raise ourselves to that and we can realize it. So it is not an impossible ideal. In that sense it is practical, but it is ideal in the sense that we have to struggle to reach it. And then Swamiji's practical Vedanta we have seen, he explains in three phases. The first is whatever implications we can carry in our life, we have to carry. And the one point he has been stressing again and again, 2 points rather. One is that faith in oneself, because that thou art is the final dictum of Vedanta, and that must tell us that we are not what we really are today, and so we must have faith in our real nature. That is called faith in self. Faith in an external God is not real, but faith in God in us or our own real nature, that is what makes a man theist, not atheist. So this Swamiji has defined, and he has said that this is not a selfish faith because the same self is in all. So if you have to believe yourself, you have to believe in the potential divinity of all. And then, as the second faith, and Swamiji has harped upon one more principle, the oneness throughout. Vedanta declares one reality throughout, appearing as many. And so, secular life is different, spiritual life is different, is not allowed. We have to make the whole life spiritual, then only we can grow. So whether we are in the working field, social field or any field, we must make it a practical application of Vedanta in that. That is another point. And then Swamiji comes to the second phase and he says that Shravan Manan Nidhasan, that is the way to realize this Vedanta. And he explains, Shravan Manan, we go back to that para and pick up from there. This Atman, on the small book, page 22, this Atman is first to be heard of. Hear day and night. So, not that I have finished hearing now, let me meditate now. Hear day and night that you are that soul. Repeat it to yourself day and night, that is Manan. Till it enters into your very veins, till it tingles in every drop of blood, till it is in your flesh and bone. That means the entire function, anatomical, physiological function of the personality should be filled up with that idea. Let the whole body be full of that one ideal. I am the birthless, the deathless, the blissful, the omniscient, the omnipotent, ever glorious soul. I am that. Think on it day and night, Manan. Think on it till it becomes part and parcel of your life. Then, Nididhyasana. Meditate upon it, and out of that will come work. That means the character will be transformed and actual practical Vedanta will come out. That is the work. Out of the fullness of the heart the mouth speaketh, and out of the fullness of the heart the hand worketh also. So one can speak when it is experienced, one can work when it is experienced. Action will come. So practical need not be that I am practicing Vedanta. I have to realize Vedanta. Then work will come, practice will come automatically. All your actions will come. Fill yourself with the ideal. Whatever you do, think well on it. All your actions will be magnified, transformed, deified in the very power of the thought. So this manan, which will culminate in meditation and experience, that is what Swamiji means by thought, and that will transfigure the personality. If matter is powerful, thought is omnipotent. We see the power in the matter, but behind that, mind is there and that is more powerful. Bring this thought to bear upon your life. Fill yourself with the thought of your almightiness, your majesty and your glory. Would to God no superstitions had been put into your head. Would to God we had not been surrounded from our birth by all these superstitions, influences and paralyzing ideas of our weakness and vileness. So these ideas make us weak. Our ideas of our weakness and vileness are weak, make us weak. Would to God that mankind had an easier path through which to attain to the noblest and highest truth. But man had to pass through all this. Do not make the path more difficult for those who are coming after you. So the other side of practical Vedanta, talk Vedanta. Don't mislead people by showing their weakness. Then the next para. These are sometimes terrible doctrines to teach. Sometimes. What does it mean? If the mind is ready to receive, it is not terrible. Because it is the truth, it should not have been terrible. Because it is truth, it should not have been terrible. If the minds are ready to catch it, it is not terrible. But sometimes when the minds are degraded, then it appears terrible. I know people who get frightened at this idea, frightened or not. Swami Vivekananda has personal experience of this. Because of his training under Western education and because of his membership of the Brahma Samaj, when he came to Sri Ramakrishna and found this in the books, he said that they were mad and they are drunk and all that nonsense. How can I claim I am a created being? How can I claim I am the creator? So this Swamiji himself has experienced. And so he sees that the world is full of this. But for those who want to be practical, so Swamiji has been talking on Vedanta and he has been asked that what is the practical position. So if you want to be a practical Vedantist, this is the first thing to learn. So you must learn. This is the first thing. Thou art that. Never tell yourselves or others that you are weak. Two sides, never tell yourself or others that you are weak. Do good if you can, but do not injure the world. Do good means if you can raise people, raise them. Otherwise, don't spread these superstitions. Don't weaken them. You know in your inmost heart that many of your limited ideas, this humbling of yourself and praying and weeping to imaginary beings are superstitions. He said, if you go deeper inside, you will find that you are praying to imagined beings. That is superstition. Because of somebody has told you to do, you are doing that. Tell me one case where these prayers have been answered. It does not mean it has not been answered. The explanation is next. Tell me one case where these prayers have been answered. All the answers that came were from your own hearts. We may think that somebody has replied, but it is from our own heart, our own real nature. You know there are no ghosts. Example is giving. You know there are no ghosts, but no sooner are you in the dark than you feel a little creepy sensation. This is so because in our childhood we have had all these fearful ideas put into our heads. But do not teach these things to others. How have we teach? Through fear of society and public opinion. If you teach Advaita, society will say you are teaching wrong. Public opinion is against it. But public opinion may decide democracy and politics. It will not decide the spiritual truth. It will only come from the rishis who have realized. Through fear of incurring the hatred of friends. So friends will hate you if you say I am Brahman and all that, because they will not understand. Or for fear of losing cherished superstition. That is the main fear. I have been cherishing that I am weak and I am a devotee and I want to worship God. And then there is if I realize, if I go in that direction, I will have to give it up. So, fear of losing cherished superstition. Be masters of all this. That means don't succumb to this. What is there to be taught more in religion than the oneness of the universe and faith in oneself? So again he is drawing the implications and said this is to be taught, oneness of the universe and faith in oneself. Oneness of the universe. No Asia, America, England. Oneness of the universe. No man, animal, etc. Oneness of the universe, only one reality. All the works of mankind for thousands of years past have been towards this one goal, and mankind is yet working it out. This is Swamiji's vision. We may not know it, we are struggling, but inside the struggle, if you see, it is all going towards oneness, and it is all depends upon faith in oneself. And mankind is yet working it out. In all fields it has not been worked out. It is your turn now and you already know the truth. For it has been taught on all sides. All sides means, if you analyze science, science also is showing the same thing. Though science cannot lead towards that. Philosophy is showing the same thing. So, on all sides, ethics, morality, religion, everything is pointing to that one only. Not only philosophy and psychology, but materialistic sciences have declared it. They declare oneness of the universe. Where is the scientific man today who fears to acknowledge the truth of this oneness of the universe? So every scientist is trying to find universal field of energy, universal common element of matter, universal common element of reality. Who is there who dares talk of many worlds? All these are superstitions. According to the level of the mind, we experience different worlds, that's all. There is only one life and one world. One life, here Swamiji means by Chaitanya. One Chaitanya throughout. And one world, the manifestation of Chaitanya. One life means Chaitanya, one world means the manifestation of Chaitanya, it is only one. And this one life and one world is appearing to us as manifold. Same Brahman appears through names and forms and appears to be manifold. But one is appearing as many, that is the truth which the Vedantic Rishis have found out. This manifoldness is like a dream. That is the best example to give. Because in Jagruti, we are so much identified with the variety that it becomes difficult to explain. But so, bring the dream into memory, Jagrut memory now. During the dream we feel it is real and we see so many objects. But when we wake up we know that our mind itself had made all the objects. We are only one. So now in the Jagruti, when we bring up this dream experience, we can understand same thing is happening in the waking state also. This manifoldness is like a dream. When you dream, one dream passes away and another comes. You do not live in your dreams. You do not live in your dreams because dream comes and passes away. The dreams come one after another, scene after scene unfolds before you. So it is in this world of 90% misery and 10% happiness. The world appears to be 90% misery and 10% happiness. Like a dream, it will pass away. That is what Swamiji says. Perhaps after a while it will appear as 90% happiness. And we shall call it heaven. By doing good works and enjoying, we shall feel like that. But this is one dream which has passed and another dream has come. But a time comes to the sage when the whole thing vanishes. So unless one becomes a sage, you have not reached the state of practical Vedanta. And to the Jnanin, which is the sage, the world manifoldness vanishes and we see one Brahman appearing as all. And this world appears as God himself and his own soul as God. So two things simultaneously take place. All the objects are nothing but God. I am myself nothing but God. It is not therefore that there are many worlds. It is not that there are many lives. All this manifoldness is the manifestation of that one. That one is manifesting himself as many. That is the final word of Vedanta. As matter, spirit, mind, thought, and everything else. So different levels of existence are nothing but different manifestations of one reality. It is that one, manifesting himself as many. That is the permanent solution of Vedanta. Therefore, the first step for us to take is to teach the truth to ourselves and to others. That will help. Even we teach it to others, our mind becomes strong in that thought. When we teach it to ourselves, we grow in that thought. Let the world resound with this ideal and let superstitions vanish. Then it will be easy for others to believe in that. Tell it to men who are weak and persist in telling it. They are weak because they feel they are weak. And you persist in telling your Brahman that they will not feel they are weak, that will be no difference. You are the pure one, awake and arise. O mighty one, this sleep does not become you. Become you means does not befit you. It does not look nice that you are sleeping on your own real nature. That is the sleep. If you manifest your real nature, you will be glorious. This sleep does not befit you. Awake and arise. It does not befit. Yes, the next sentence he has used the word befit. Awake and arise. It does not befit you. Awake means be aware of that truth. Arise means realize the truth. We know Swamiji's famous sentence, arise, awake and stop not till the goal is reached, which is a free translation of Kathopanishad, Uttishtata Jagrata. Even after Uttishtata means let sleep be over. Jagrata means realize the truth fully. So that is what Swamiji wants us to do. We chant, arise, awake and stop not till the goal is, as if we are militarily walking somewhere to reach the goal. The goal is our manifestation of divinity. There is no other goal. Think not that you are weak and miserable. Almighty, arise and awake and manifest your own nature. It is not fitting that you think yourself a sinner. So in that sense, sinner, my mind may have been polluted, but my real nature is such that it can never be polluted. It is not fitting that you think yourself weak. Say that to the world, say it to yourself, and see what a practical result comes. So practicality depends upon our Shravan, Manana and Nididhyasana. On that our expression in life of Vedanta depends. That is what Swamiji is telling. See how with an electric flash everything is manifested. Flash is the only description. When we realize the truth, it comes like a flash, the whole personality becomes changed. See how with an electric flash everything is manifested, how everything is changed. Tell that to mankind and show them their power. So we are omnipotent. That can be seen by manifesting our real nature, by giving up this little individuality. Then we shall learn how to apply it in our daily life. So, Swamiji is again and again telling, if we do, this is the practical Vedanta, Shravan, Manan, Nididhyasana, and that will result in it being manifested in our life. That is the practical Vedanta. Practical Vedanta does not mean we start practicing the principle of Vedanta. It means we realize them by Shravan, Manan, Nididhyasana. When the inner consciousness is changed, automatically our life will be changed, and that will be the real practical Vedanta. Now again, start from implications. Start from the finding the implications, apply it to life. That is how the change will start. To be able to use what we call vivek or discrimination, that is the first point in Vedanta. Discrimination. To learn how in every moment of our lives, in every one of our actions, to discriminate between what is right and wrong, true and false, we shall have to know the test of truth. So test of truth we have to find. Then relatively, which is real, which is unreal, we shall be finding out by this test. Which is purity, oneness. Purity is the state of truth, because in Brahman, in reality, there is not the division of subject and object, so there is no question of impurity made by selfish ideas or ideas of enjoyment. So there is which is purity, oneness. Now due to oneness, what Swamiji is bringing, everything that makes for oneness is truth. Makes for oneness means leads us towards oneness. What leads? Relative scale of life now. What you call the values of life. Values of life will be derived only from the highest truths of Vedanta, and they will be applied to reach that highest truth of Vedanta. So Swamiji is telling everything that makes for oneness is truth. Love is truth. Love is not attraction between two particles. Love is the identity which exists in the whole universe. Love is the another name for Satchit Ananda bliss. This Satchit Ananda is described as Asti Bhati Priya. We feel love for anybody only because there is a common reality. We feel hatred for somebody only because our love is obstructed. So hatred is not a separate force. Love is truth and hatred is false. It is only the reflected truth, so it is false. Hatred does not make for oneness. Now this religious hatred, terrorism cannot be religion. Terrorism cannot be religion. If anybody teaches hate for anything, it cannot be religion. Because oneness is the declaration of Vedanta and it is love which makes us proceed towards that oneness. Because hatred makes for multiplicity. It is hatred that separates man from man. Man from man, caste from caste, country from country, all that is hatred is separateness. Therefore, it is wrong and false. So we are applying the test, purity and oneness. Hatred makes for diversity and separateness, so it is false. It is a disintegrating power. It separates and destroys. So it is false. Love binds. Love makes for that oneness. Beautiful definition of love. You become one. Examples. The mother with the child, families with the city, the whole world becomes one with that, with the animals. Oneness. For love is existence, God Himself. Existence, consciousness and bliss, they are identical. Three ways of looking at the same thing. So love is existence. And that itself is God, Satchidananda Brahma. And all this is the manifestation of that one love. That is God. More or less expressed, that's all. According to the scale of oneness we have crossed, we feel that love universal. The difference is only in degree, but it is the manifestation of that one love throughout. Therefore, in all our actions, we have to judge whether it is making for diversity or for oneness. So, practical Vedanta at the implication level is to find out by introspection whether what we are doing is selfishness, which separates us from others, or which is the universality, where we are not different. If for diversity, we have to give it up. But if it makes for oneness, we are sure it is good. So with our thoughts, we have to decide whether they make for disintegration, multiplicity, or for oneness. This test has to be applied. That is Manan. To all our thoughts, to all our feelings, we have to apply this test and correct it accordingly. Or for oneness, binding soul to soul and bringing one influence to bear. One influence of unity is brought to bear upon the whole thought process. If they do this, we will take them up. If not, we will throw them off as criminal. That is what Swamiji says. From spiritual point of view, it is a criminal to hate anybody, to create differences. Swamiji shows in a different field of life, and that is ethics, which determines what is the right conduct or wrong conduct. The whole idea of ethics is that it does not depend upon anything unknowable. It does not teach anything unknown, but in the language of the Upanishad, the God whom you worship as an unknown God, the same I preach unto thee. Unknown God, imagined God. Known God means we are all manifestations of the same God. So that is what is in the preachers. It is through the self that you know anything. Important point Swamiji is telling now. Self is consciousness. God is knowledge. When I want to know an object, where is that knowledge? First I have to awaken knowledge in me, and that knowledge is God. And when I awaken knowledge and through that I can know something, that is the highest philosophy. Swamiji is telling in simple words. To know anything, we have to know it through God. That means to know anything, we have first to awaken the idea of knowledge, and that knowledge is the nature of God. Knowledge is one in the world. And in that knowledge, we have to see that object. That is how the process of knowledge takes place. This is the Vedantic view. I see the chair, but to see the chair, I have first to pursue myself and then the chair. Unless I arouse the knowledge in me, I cannot see the chair. Eye is putting on the chair is not seeing the chair. To be aware that I am seeing, to be aware that there is a chair, the awareness has to be risen in me. And that awareness is myself. Awareness is God. Awareness is Brahman. But that awareness is lying hidden in our perceptions and actions and matter. When it is aroused, the awareness, then we shall see. See, feel, hear is possible only by that awareness. I have first to pursue myself and then the chair. It is in and through the self that the chair is pursued. In the self, chair is pursued. Because self is all. There is nothing outside the self. So in the self only it is pursued. And through means first we experience the self and then the chair. So through the self. In means chair is not outside. Through means first we have to see the self and then the chair. It is in and through the self that you are known to me. And the whole world is known to me. Whole world and you are inside self, and when I awaken my knowledge, then only I see the world and see you. And therefore to say the self is unknown is sheer nonsense. We know the self in every action of knowledge. First we have to rouse the self and then have the action of knowledge. So don't say self is unknown. Self is more than known. Take out the self and the whole universe vanishes. If you take out the existence, consciousness, bliss, what remains of the world? Names and forms have no reality. Vanishes. In and through the self, all knowledge comes. This is the important point, implication of Vedanta, that self is knowledge. Unless that is aroused, we cannot know anything. Science does not know of this. Therefore, it is the best known of all. It is yourself and that which you call I. That is, I is nothing but an expression of that self. So, yourself. You may wonder how this I of me can be the I of you. You may wonder how this limited I can be the unlimited infinite. But it is so. This your I, my I and limited I are only reflections. The limited is a mere fiction. Fiction means it is in the mind only. It is only a feeling without reality. The infinite has been covered up as it were, and a little of it is manifesting as the I. Covered as it were, because infinite can never be covered, but our vision is covered. If we have 4 or 5 clouds, the sun is not covered. Our vision of the sun is covered. And that is what is happening. You may wonder how this limited I can be the unlimited infinite, but it is so. The limited is a mere fiction. The infinite has been covered up as it were, and a little of it is manifesting as the I. Only one expression. limitation can never come upon the unlimited. It is a fiction. So, unlimited, example, moon, sky, clouds cannot cover it, but clouds cover our vision. And that is why the world appears to be real. It is a fiction. That means sun or reality is always uncovered. The self is known, therefore, to every one of us. If we can understand this, man, woman or child, and even to the animals, because they also know things through their knowledge. So through the self only they know things. Beautiful. Without knowing him, we can neither live nor move. Even to live or move, we must have knowledge awakened. Then only we can live, then only we can move. Nor have our being, we would not be existing at all if the Satchidananda was not there. Without knowing this Lord of all, we cannot breathe or live a second. A second, if the Lord is not there, we will all die. Everything will collapse. The God of the Vedanta is the most known of all and is not the outcome of imagination. Otherwise, to imagine there is a God ruling us without being seen. But the reality in us, when that is called God, it is always there. If this is not preaching a practical God, how else could you teach a practical God? Imaginary God, practical God means there is nothing but God, so it is directly practical. Where is there a more practical God than He whom I see before me, a God omnipresent in every being, more real than our senses? So it is the reality, everywhere manifesting. We see anything, we are seeing that God. For you are He, the omnipresent God, Almighty, the soul of your soul. And if I say you are not, I tell an untruth. I know it, whether at all times I realize it or not. Realized and known. Known is theoretical, conviction, and then it can be turned into realization by actually experiencing it. He is the oneness, the unity of all, the reality of all life and all existence. So that terrifying thing Swamiji has removed by telling it in a language in which we can understand. These ideas of the ethics of Vedanta have to be worked out in detail. That means every conduct has to be examined in this light. And that is the working out of the ideas of Vedanta in ethics. And therefore you must have patience. It cannot be thought in a minute. It has to be applied to every action. So you have to have patience. As I have told you, we want to take this subject in detail and work it up thoroughly to see how the ideas grow from very low ideals, how the one great ideal of oneness has developed. This is another side of practical Vedanta. Man grows spiritually and so the ideas grow and become shaped into the universal love. And we have to study these in order to avoid dangers. That means without jumping on it, we have to study how the development takes place and how one realizes this. The world cannot find time to work it up from the lowest steps. We are always in a hurry. But what is the use of one standing on higher steps if we cannot give the truth to others coming afterwards? So we must clear all these steps, that is what Swamiji means. Therefore it is better to study it in all its workings, and first it is absolutely necessary to clear the intellectual portion. So again that thing, theory of the practical. Although we know that intellectuality is almost nothing, another important point Swamiji is telling, intellectual it is almost nothing. But we must understand it, and when the vision becomes clear, we have to experience it. For it is the heart that is of most importance. This is another practical Vedanta. Experience takes place in the heart. That transforms a man. Intelligent understanding does not transform a man. But first we have to understand, then experience. Some people can experience directly if they are pure in mind. It is through the heart that the Lord is seen and not through the intellect. Naisha tarkena matirapaneya. By intellect we do not see God. If the heart, the instrument of experience, the instrument where I is playing, if that is pure, inside we can see God. Practical Vedanta. The intellect is only the street cleaner. That means we should not fall in mistakes. Emotions and mixed feelings will not realize God. So the intellect clears them like a scavenger on the street so that we cannot fall in thorns or like that. Cleaning this path for us, a secondary worker, the policeman. But the policeman is not a positive necessity for the workings of society. If all are pure, policeman is not necessary. He is only to stop disturbances, to check wrongdoing, and that is all the work required of the intellect. So intellect has to check that thing is not wrong, he has to clear ideas, and the heart, the experiencing instrument has to proceed. When you read intellectual books, you think when you have mastered them, bless the Lord that I am out of them. Intellectual books, the very nature of the books is that intellectual jugglery. Because the intellect is blind and cannot move of itself. Intellect, somebody is telling, is blind. Cannot move of itself, that is true. It is blind because it cannot feel the truth. It has neither hands nor feet. It is feeling that works. Feeling is not emotion, please. Feeling happens in the tranquil heart, and that is what works. That moves with great speed, infinitely superior to that of electricity or anything else. So, that means the life is transformed. Do you feel? That is the question. So Swamiji has brought the importance of the faculty of feeling in the practical application of Vedanta. Another important point, faculty of feeling necessary for realizing Vedanta, making it practical. Do you feel? That is the question. If you do, you will see the Lord. It is the feeling that you have today that will be intensified, deepened, raised to the highest platform until it feels everything, the oneness in everything. So feeling can be modified till it feels God in itself and in others. So that will be the culmination of the faculty of feeling. Practical Vedanta Swamiji has discussed in this way. The intellect can never do that. Intellect understands the differences. Different methods of speaking words, different methods of explaining the text of books, these are for the enjoyment of the learned, not for the salvation of the soul. Swamiji has quoted from Shankaracharya's Vivek Chudamani. Now he brings in another book. Because of his universality of the mind, he brings another book, and that is, those of you who have read Thomas à Kempis. Thomas à Kempis, read means books by Thomas à Kempis. Imitation of Christ is a wonderful book. Some other books are also written by him. But Swamiji was a fan of Imitation of Christ, and that Swamiji is quoting here. No, how in every page he insists on this. On this means heart. And almost every man in the world has ancestor only. He quotes Thomas of Kempis because people are Christians, those. They know it, they can identify with it. And then he generalizes that every holy man in the world has ancestor on it. Indeed, intellect is necessary, for without it we fall into crude error and make all sorts of mistakes. So intellect must clear the wrong things. Intellect checks these, but beyond that, do not try to build anything upon it. It is an inactive secondary help. The real help is feeling love. Do you feel for others? Oneness. If you do, you are going in oneness. If you do not feel for others, you may be the most intellectual giant ever born, but you will be nothing. You are but dry intellect and you will remain so. So what an important place he has given for the feeling in practical Vedanta. That is practical. So, wonderful implication of practical Vedanta. And if you feel, even if you cannot read any book and do not know any language, you are in the right way. The Lord is yours. So, though intellect is normally necessary, but without that, the feeling can achieve things. Intellect mere cannot achieve anything. Do you not know from the history of the world where the power of the prophets lay, those who preach religion? Where was it? In the intellect. Did any of them write a fine book on philosophy, on the most intricate ratiocinations of logic? Not one of them. They only spoke a few words. Feel like Christ and you will be a Christ. Feel like Buddha and you will be a Buddha. Experience. The feeling is nearest to experience. It is feeling that is the life, the strength, the vitality, without which no amount of intellectual activity can reach God. So he is making this emphatic point toward the end of the first lecture. This has to be cultivated properly, purified properly. Intellect is like limbs without the power of locomotion. It is only when feeling enters and gives them motion that they move and work on others. Swamiji has said, heart is the seat of the brain. That is so all over the world, and it is a thing which you must always remember. By quoting Christ and Buddha, he has shown that. It is one of the most practical things in Vedantic morality, for it is the teaching of the Vedanta that you are all prophets, all must be prophets. You are and must be means you are in your real nature, must be means you must realize that and transform your life. The book is not the proof of your conduct, but you are the proof of the book. Book means here Shastras. You are the proof of the book means if your feeling has changed, then you see the effect. That is the proof. How do you know that a book teaches truth? Because you are truth and feeling. When the heart responds to the truth read in the books, then only we know it is truth. Otherwise it remains in the intellect. That is what the Vedanta says. See, Swamiji's Vedanta is different from the so-called intellectual Vedanta, which is unreal. What is the proof of the Christ and the Buddhas of the world? That you and I feel like them. Then only you can understand their greatness. Not that they are great and we are small. No. If we feel like them, then only we know their greatness. So, objective understanding is no understanding. When we apply it on ourselves and see how we can grow, then only we have followed Christ or Buddha. That is how you and I understand that they were true. Our prophet soul is the proof of their prophet soul. That means our reality is always a sage, and that is the proof that their reality always was a sage, because we will find the expressions to be true if we can feel that. Your Godhead is the proof of God Himself. So, what is the proof of God? God is one without a second. What is the proof? It is in you, is in you. He is your real nature. He is the real nature of the whole world. He is the real nature of all in the whole world. So that is the proof that there is a God. Otherwise, a God sitting above the heaven, extra cosmic God, is not, cannot be proved. It does not exist at all. It is only imagination. If you are not a prophet, there never has been anything true of God. If you are not God, there never was any God and never will be. Very clear practical Vedanta is not believing in an extra cosmic God, but to feel that God is one without a second, I am one with it. This, says the Vedanta, is the ideal to follow. Now the question of ideal comes. We cannot act like that. We have to realize it, then we can act like that. Every one of us will have to become a prophet, and you are that already in reality. Only know it by sadhana. By Shravan Manandasan only that knowledge will come, and then it will, Vedanta will become practical. Never think there is anything impossible for the soul. It is the greatest hearsay to think so, because it is omnipotent. If there is sin, this is the only sin, to say that you are weak or others are weak. So Swamiji has concluded the first chapter by emphasizing feeling universal love, feeling the reality in us and in all. Intellect will clear the ground, but feeling has to be cultivated to know that the reality is in me, the reality, same reality is in all, and that is why the first chapter of Practical Vedanta is concluded by so much emphasis on the faculty of feeling, which is not emotion. It comes only in the tranquil heart. So with this idea, we will go into the second part, as they call it, on the next Thursday. So for today, we could complete the first chapter of Practical Vedanta, which primarily based on Tattvamasi of Chandogya Upanishad. In addition to that, to make it practical, Swamiji has brought from Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, Shravan Manandasan, which makes it perfectly practical. And through the Shravan Manandasan, faculty of experience, which is the heart, has to be roused. Intellect only will clear the ground. This is the complete truth Swamiji has brought. Om Paratatve Sada Lino Ramakrishna Samagya Yo Dharma Sthapana Rato Viresham Tam Namamyaham. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hare Om Tat Sat. Shri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu.